17 black celebrities who were buried in the strangest ways. They ruled the charts, changed music forever and inspired millions, but their final farewells were anything but ordinary. One legend was laid to rest beside the objects that defined his faith. Another had ashes preserved inside a miniature version of his own creative sanctuary, while others received ceremonies so private, delayed, or symbolic that they still spark debate today. But which stories are true and which details became exaggerated over time? In this video, Golden Black Legends uncovers the verified final journeys of 17 unforgettable black music icons without fake news or invented mysteries. Before we begin, subscribe, like this video, and tell us in the comments whose unusual farewell are you most curious to discover. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's farewell became almost as unforgettable as the life he lived. By the time of his death in June 2009, he had become the best-selling entertainer in modern music history, with an estimated over 500 million records sold worldwide. His sudden passing at the age of 50 sent shockwaves across the globe, bringing millions of grieving fans together in one of the largest public displays of mourning ever witnessed. Yet while the world watched every headline, his family worked tirelessly to ensure that the King of Pop's final resting place reflected the privacy he had rarely enjoyed during his lifetime. On July 7, 2009, nearly 1 billion viewers worldwide watched the public memorial held at Los Angeles Staples Center. The emotional ceremony featured heartfelt tributes from Stevie Wonder, Mariah Carey, Lionel Richie, and many others, while Michael's daughter, Paris Jackson, delivered a brief but unforgettable message about her father's love. It remains one of the most watched memorial services in television history. However, many people don't realize that Michael was not buried immediately afterward. Instead, his family delayed the private burial for nearly 2 months, carefully planning a ceremony away from the overwhelming media attention that had followed him throughout his life. On September 3, 2009, Michael Jackson was laid to rest inside the Great Mausoleum at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. Unlike the public memorial, this intimate service was attended only by close family members and trusted friends. His bronze casket, plated in 14-karat gold and lined with blue velvet, reflected the elegance associated with his extraordinary career. Security around the mausoleum remains exceptionally strict, and access to his crypt is not open to the general public. Over the years, countless myths have circulated about mysterious visitors, hidden chambers, and secret burial rituals, but none have been supported by credible evidence. The truth is powerful enough on its own. Even in death, Michael Jackson received a farewell, unlike almost any other artist, a carefully protected resting place designed to give him something fame never could: lasting peace. Prince spent his entire career refusing to follow anyone else's rules, so it was perhaps fitting that even his final farewell reflected the same independence that defined his remarkable life. Widely regarded as one of the greatest musicians in history, Prince sold more than 100 million records worldwide, won 7 Grammy Awards, an Academy Award, and transformed popular music through his unmatched creativity. Yet when he died unexpectedly on April 21, 2016, at just 57 years old, the world expected a lavish public funeral worthy of a global icon. Instead, his family chose a path that was strikingly different: quiet, deeply personal, and unlike almost any celebrity farewell in recent memory. Only a few days after his death, Prince was privately cremated in a small ceremony attended by a limited number of relatives and close friends. There was no enormous public procession, no nationally televised funeral, and no elaborate state-like memorial. The decision reflected Prince's lifelong desire to keep his private life separate from his public image. Months later, fans visiting Paisley Park discovered one of the most unusual memorials in modern music history. His ashes had been placed inside a beautifully designed custom urn created to resemble Paisley Park itself, complete with miniature architectural details inspired by the legendary studio complex where he wrote, recorded, and produced much of his greatest work. Rather than a traditional decorative urn, it became a symbolic representation of the place where his imagination seemed limitless. The urn remains on display inside Paisley Park, allowing visitors to honor Prince in the very building where so much of his artistic genius came to life. Over the years, rumors have claimed that unreleased recordings, handwritten lyrics, or secret messages were hidden alongside his ashes, but no credible evidence has ever supported those stories. What is unquestionably true is that Prince's final resting place perfectly reflects the man himself. Instead of choosing a grand monument or extravagant tomb, his family preserved his memory in the creative sanctuary he loved most. Even after his passing, Prince continues to inspire millions, proving that true artistic legends never stop leaving their mark on the world. Tupac Shakur. Few artists have left behind as much mystery as Tupac Shakur. More than a rapper, he became a voice for an entire generation, blending poetry, social commentary, and raw emotion into music that continues to resonate decades after his death. By the time he was fatally shot in Las Vegas on September 13, 1996 at just 25 years old, Tupac had already sold millions of records and become one of hip-hop's most influential figures. His sudden death shocked the world, but what happened after his passing became almost as legendary as his extraordinary career. Unlike many public figures whose funerals are carefully documented, Tupac's farewell remained largely private. His body was cremated the day after his death, following the wishes expressed by members of his family. The speed of the cremation fueled endless speculation and conspiracy theories that continue to circulate today, although there is no credible evidence suggesting he survived or staged his disappearance. The mystery surrounding the unsolved murder only intensified public fascination with every detail of his final days. One of the most widely discussed stories came from members of the rap group Outlaws, who claimed that during a private memorial gathering they mixed a portion of Tupac's ashes with cannabis and smoked it as a symbolic tribute, believing they were honoring lyrics from one of his songs. Several members have repeated this account over the years, while others have offered different versions, and Tupac's family has never officially confirmed that the event occurred. Because of these conflicting accounts, historians generally treat the story as an unverified personal claim rather than established fact. What is beyond dispute is that Tupac's farewell has become one of the most unusual in music history. Whether discussing the rapid cremation, the secrecy surrounding his remains, or the myths that continue to surround his legacy, his burial story remains inseparable from the enduring mystery of his life. Nearly 3 decades later, millions still visit memorials, celebrate his music, and debate unanswered questions, proving that Tupac Shakur's influence did not end with his final goodbye. It only became even more legendary. Bob Marley. Bob Marley devoted his life to spreading messages of unity, spirituality, and freedom through reggae music, and even in death, his farewell reflected the beliefs that shaped his remarkable journey. Born in rural Jamaica in 1945, Marley rose from humble beginnings to become the world's greatest reggae ambassador, selling more than 75 million records worldwide. His music introduced Rastafarian culture to international audiences, while songs such as No Woman, No Cry, One Love, and Redemption Song became timeless anthems of hope. When cancer claimed his life on May 11, 1981, at the age of 36, Jamaica mourned not only a superstar but also a national hero. Bob Marley's funeral combined official state recognition with deeply personal spiritual traditions. The Jamaican government honored him with a ceremony attended by political leaders, fellow musicians, family members, and thousands of grieving fans. Yet the most meaningful moments came during his burial in the small village of 9 Mile, where he had spent much of his childhood. Rather than choosing a glamorous cemetery, Marley was laid to rest inside a specially constructed mausoleum overlooking the hills that had inspired many of his songs. Several carefully chosen items accompanied him into his final resting place. Verified accounts confirm that he was buried with his red Gibson Les Paul guitar, a Bible opened to Psalm 23, and a stalk of ganja, reflecting both his Christian upbringing and his lifelong Rastafarian faith. These symbolic objects represented music, spirituality, and cultural identity, the 3 pillars that defined his life. Over the years, additional stories have emerged claiming other objects were placed inside the coffin, but many of those accounts remain unsupported by reliable historical evidence. Today, Bob Marley's mausoleum has become one of Jamaica's most visited landmarks, attracting admirers from around the world. Fans leave flowers, sing his songs, and reflect on the legacy of a man whose message of peace continues to transcend generations. His burial was unusual not because of mystery or extravagance, but because it perfectly honored the values he cherished most. Even in death, Bob Marley remained exactly who he had always been, a musician whose spirit was forever connected to his homeland, his faith, and his people. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston possessed one of the greatest voices ever recorded, and when she died, unexpectedly on February 11, 2012, at the age of 48, the world paused in disbelief. Having sold more than 200 million records worldwide, she had inspired generations with unforgettable performances of songs such as I Will Always Love You, Greatest Love of All, and I Have Nothing. Her passing occurred on the eve of the Grammy Awards, turning what should have been music's biggest celebration into a weekend of mourning for millions of fans across the globe. Whitney's funeral reflected both her international fame and her deep connection to family and faith. Rather than holding a massive public memorial in an arena, her loved ones chose New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey, the church where she first sang as a child. The invitation-only service brought together family members, close friends, and legendary performers, including Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, Kevin Costner, and CeCe Winans. Costner's heartfelt tribute lasted nearly 20 minutes and became one of the ceremony's most memorable moments, reminding mourners of the talented young woman he had worked alongside in The Bodyguard. Following the service, Whitney was laid to rest at Fairview Cemetery in Westfield, New Jersey, beside her father, John Russell Houston Jr. The burial itself was quiet, dignified, and intentionally private. Over the years, sensational stories have circulated claiming mysterious incidents occurred during her funeral or burial, but none of those rumors have been supported by credible evidence. The true significance of Whitney's farewell lies not in myths, but in the extraordinary gathering of people whose lives she had touched through her music. Today, visitors continue to leave flowers, handwritten letters, and photographs at her gravesite. Her final resting place has become a place of reflection for admirers who still celebrate her unmatched vocal gift. Whitney Houston's funeral was not remembered for strange rituals or elaborate spectacle, but for the overwhelming love shown by family, friends, and fans who recognized that one of history's greatest voices had fallen silent far too soon. Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin's farewell was as unforgettable as the extraordinary career she built over 6 decades. Known worldwide as the Queen of Soul, she sold more than 75 million records, won 18 Grammy Awards, and became the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When she passed away on August 16, 2018 at the age of 76, Detroit prepared a tribute unlike almost any other in modern music history. Her funeral was not simply a service, it became a week-long celebration honoring one of America's greatest cultural icons. For several days before the funeral, Aretha lay in state at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit, allowing thousands of fans to pay their final respects. One of the most distinctive features of the public viewing was that she appeared in 4 different custom-made outfits, including elegant gowns and glamorous shoes that reflected the style she had maintained throughout her life. The changing attire attracted worldwide attention and made her farewell one of the most visually memorable public memorials ever held for an entertainer. The funeral itself lasted more than 8 hours at Greater Grace Temple in Detroit. It featured performances by gospel choirs and legendary artists, emotional tributes from longtime friends, and remarks by public figures including former US President Bill Clinton. Rather than rushing the ceremony, organizers allowed time for music, remembrance, and celebration, reflecting Aretha's lifelong devotion to gospel and soul. After the service, she was buried at Woodlawn Cemetery in Detroit alongside family members in a private ceremony. Although countless rumors later appeared online about unusual funeral traditions, the documented facts are already remarkable. Few artists have ever received such an extended public farewell, with multiple days of viewing, several wardrobe changes, and a funeral attended by global celebrities, political leaders, and thousands of admirers. Aretha Franklin's final goodbye perfectly reflected the extraordinary influence she had on music culture and American history, a farewell worthy of a woman whose voice changed the world forever. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's life ended in heartbreaking tragedy, but the way his family chose to honor him afterward reflected the quiet dignity he had always searched for. One of Motown's greatest stars, Marvin sold millions of records and created timeless masterpieces, including What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and Sexual Healing. His music changed soul forever, yet behind the success were years of personal struggles, family conflict, financial pressure, and emotional pain. On April 1st, 1984, just one day before his 45th birthday, Marvin was fatally shot by his father during a domestic argument inside the family home in Los Angeles. He was only 44 years old, leaving fans around the world devastated by the shocking loss. Unlike many celebrities whose funerals became elaborate public spectacles, Marvin's farewell remained relatively intimate. Family members and close friends gathered to celebrate his life, while fellow musicians paid tribute to the extraordinary influence he had on modern music. In accordance with his family's wishes, Marvin's body was cremated, a decision that differed from the traditional burial practices followed by many artists of his generation. Shortly afterward, his ashes were taken to the Pacific Ocean off the California coast, where family members scattered them into the sea during a private ceremony. The peaceful setting symbolized freedom from the pain and turmoil that had marked so much of his personal life. Over the years, rumors have surfaced claiming secret ceremonies, hidden memorials, or mysterious objects placed alongside his remains. However, no credible historical evidence supports those stories. The confirmed facts are far more meaningful. Marvin's family intentionally chose a quiet farewell centered on remembrance rather than spectacle. Today, countless fans continue visiting memorial sites dedicated to his life, even though his physical remains rest in the ocean rather than beneath a traditional headstone. His unusual farewell perfectly reflected the complexity of the man himself, a global superstar whose final resting place remains as peaceful and timeless as the music he left behind. James Brown. James Brown spent his life commanding the stage with unmatched energy, earning the title Godfather of Soul. Through decades of groundbreaking performances that reshaped American music. With countless hit records, electrifying concerts, and an influence stretching across soul, funk, R&B, hip-hop, and pop, Brown became one of the most important entertainers of the 20th century. When he died from complications of pneumonia on Christmas Day in 2006 at the age of 73, millions mourned the loss of a performer whose impact could never be measured by awards alone. Yet surprisingly, his burial became almost as complicated as his extraordinary career. Following his death, James Brown received several public memorial services, including emotional tributes at the Apollo Theater in Harlem and the James Brown Arena in Augusta, Georgia. Thousands of fans lined the streets to say goodbye as his horse-drawn carriage passed through the city, creating one of the most memorable funeral processions in modern music history. However, unlike most celebrities, Brown was not immediately given a permanent resting place. Ongoing legal disputes involving his estate, family members, and questions surrounding his final wishes delayed a permanent burial for months, creating uncertainty that attracted widespread media attention. Eventually, James Brown was laid to rest in a private mausoleum located on the South Carolina property of one of his daughters. The location remained intentionally secluded, reflecting the family's desire for privacy after months of public attention. Over the years, numerous conspiracy theories have claimed that Brown's body was secretly moved or never permanently buried, but no credible evidence has supported those stories. The genuine history is unusual enough. Few legendary musicians experienced such a prolonged period between death and final burial, making James Brown's farewell one of the most distinctive in entertainment history. Even after his passing, the man who revolutionized popular music continued making headlines, proving that his influence and the fascination surrounding his remarkable life extended well beyond his final performance. Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix forever changed the sound of modern music, redefining what an electric guitar could accomplish in only a few remarkable years. Born in Seattle, Washington in 1942, Hendrix rose from modest beginnings to become one of rock's most innovative musicians, captivating audiences with unforgettable performances of songs such as Purple Haze, Hey Joe, and Voodoo Child. Slight return. His appearance at the 1969 Woodstock Festival remains one of the most celebrated moments in music history. When Hendrix died unexpectedly in London on September 18, 1970, at only 27 years old, the world lost an artist whose creative potential still seemed limitless. After his death, Hendrix's body was returned to the United States, where his family organized a funeral in Seattle. He was initially buried at Greenwood Memorial Park in Renton, Washington, surrounded by relatives and close friends. Years later, recognizing his enormous cultural influence, the Hendrix family created a far more elaborate memorial at the same cemetery. In 2002, his remains were moved into a striking granite memorial featuring a circular domed structure supported by elegant columns. Visitors can also see engraved portraits of Hendrix and tributes celebrating his extraordinary career. Unlike many exaggerated stories found online, Hendrix was not cremated, nor was he buried beneath a giant guitar monument. Those popular myths have no reliable historical basis. Today, the memorial has become one of the most visited gravesites in American music history. Fans from around the world travel to pay their respects, often leaving guitar picks, handwritten letters, flowers, and personal messages near his tomb. Although his life lasted only 27 years, the carefully designed memorial reflects the enormous impact he continues to have on generations of musicians, rather than relying on mystery or legend. Jimi Hendrix's final resting place stands as a lasting tribute to genuine artistic brilliance, ensuring that one of music's greatest innovators will never be forgotten. Nina Simone. Nina Simone devoted her life to music, civil rights, and artistic freedom, refusing to compromise her beliefs, even when doing so came at great personal cost. Born Eunice Kathleen Wayman in North Carolina in 1933, she became one of the most influential voices in jazz, soul, blues, and classical music. Songs such as Feeling Good, I Put a Spell on You, and Mississippi Goddam showcased not only her extraordinary talent, but also her fearless willingness to confront racial injustice. Throughout her life, Simone traveled extensively, eventually living in Liberia, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and finally France. That lifelong search for freedom would also influence the decisions surrounding her final farewell. When Nina Simone died in southern France on April 21, 2003, at the age of 70, after battling breast cancer, her family chose cremation rather than a traditional burial. Instead of placing her in a cemetery, they honored one of her final wishes by scattering her ashes across several African countries, reflecting her deep spiritual connection to the African continent and her belief that Africa represented an important part of her identity. The exact locations have never been fully disclosed, a decision made out of respect for both her privacy and her family's wishes. That secrecy has led to numerous rumors over the years, but there is no credible evidence supporting stories that her ashes were secretly buried in France or hidden in North Carolina. Because no permanent gravesite exists, admirers honor Nina Simone through her music rather than by visiting a single memorial. Museums, statues, festivals, and historical markers around the world continue celebrating her remarkable legacy. Her farewell remains unusual because it rejected traditional burial, entirely allowing her memory to transcend national borders, just as her music did throughout her lifetime. Even after her passing, Nina Simone's final journey reflected the independent spirit that defined every chapter of her extraordinary life. Ray Charles. Ray Charles transformed American music by blending gospel, blues, jazz, country, and rhythm and blues into a sound that forever changed popular culture. Born in Albany, Georgia in 1930, he lost his eyesight by the age of 7 but refused to let blindness define his future. Through determination and extraordinary talent, he became one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century, recording classics such as Georgia, On My Mind, Hit the Road, Jack and I, Can't Stop Loving You. By the time of his passing in June 2004, Ray Charles had earned 17 Grammy Awards and sold millions of records, leaving behind a legacy that crossed generations and musical genres. After his death at the age of 73 from complications of liver disease, tributes poured in from around the world. His family organized a public memorial at the First African Methodist Episcopal Church in Los Angeles, where fellow musicians, political leaders, and longtime friends gathered to celebrate his extraordinary life. Rather than focusing solely on grief, the service became a joyful celebration filled with gospel music, heartfelt performances, and personal stories that reflected Ray's lifelong belief in the healing power of music. Thousands of admirers lined the streets outside, hoping to pay one final tribute to the man who had inspired countless artists. Following the memorial, Ray Charles was privately buried at Inglewood Park Cemetery in California, away from the enormous public attention surrounding his death. Unlike many celebrities, his family deliberately chose a dignified and relatively private burial. Over the years, rumors have circulated claiming his famous piano or treasured belongings were buried alongside him, but no credible evidence supports those stories. The confirmed history is meaningful enough. Ray Charles' farewell balanced public celebration with personal privacy, allowing both fans and loved ones to honor his remarkable journey. Today, visitors continue paying their respects at his gravesite, remembering a man whose music broke barriers and whose influence continues to echo through nearly every style of modern popular music. Barry White. Barry White's unmistakably deep voice made him one of the most recognizable performers in soul music history, with timeless hits including Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe, You're the First, the Last, My Everything, and Never Never Gonna Give You Up. He sold more than 100 million records worldwide and became synonymous with romance for generations of listeners. Behind the smooth vocals and elegant stage presence, however, Barry quietly battled serious health problems during the final years of his life, including hypertension, kidney failure, and diabetes. Those conditions gradually weakened him before he passed away on July 4, 2003, at the age of 58. Following his death, family members and fellow musicians gathered in Los Angeles for a moving memorial service, celebrating both his music and his generosity. The ceremony featured emotional tributes from friends, collaborators, and loved ones who remembered not only his remarkable talent but also his kindness away from the spotlight. Unlike many elaborate celebrity funerals, Barry's farewell reflected the quiet dignity he preferred in his private life. There were no sensational public spectacles or extravagant displays intended to overshadow the man himself. In accordance with his family's wishes, Barry White was cremated and his ashes were later scattered into the Pacific Ocean off the California coast during a private ceremony. That decision reflected a desire for peace and privacy rather than creating a permanent public gravesite. Although numerous internet stories claim unusual instructions for his funeral or extravagant burial traditions, none of those accounts have been supported by reliable historical evidence. The verified facts tell a far more authentic story. Barry White's final farewell was simple, respectful, and deeply personal, allowing his family to remember him away from the cameras that had followed him throughout his extraordinary career. His music continues to define romance around the world, while the ocean that received his ashes serves as a fitting symbol of a legacy that remains vast, timeless, and impossible to confine. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke's remarkable career lasted barely a decade, yet his influence on modern music remains immeasurable. Born in Clarksdale, Mississippi in 1931 and raised in Chicago, Cooke first achieved fame as the lead singer of the Soul Stirrers, one of gospel music's most respected groups. His decision to transition into popular music changed American entertainment forever. Songs such as You Sent Me, Cupid, Wonderful World, and the powerful civil rights anthem, A Change Is Gonna Come, established him as one of soul music's greatest pioneers. Beyond his extraordinary voice, Cooke also became one of the first black artists to fight successfully for ownership of his publishing rights and greater control over his business affairs. Everything changed on December 11, 1964, when Cooke was fatally shot at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles, at only 33 years old. His death immediately generated widespread controversy, and questions surrounding the circumstances have continued for decades. Despite the public attention, his family chose to focus on honoring his life rather than fueling speculation. Thousands of mourners attended funeral services in both Los Angeles and Chicago, reflecting the enormous impact Cooke had made on American music and the civil rights movement in such a short time. Sam Cooke was ultimately buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, one of the country's most historic cemeteries. Unlike many entertainers whose funerals featured elaborate displays, Cooke's burial remained dignified and traditional. Over the years, myths have appeared suggesting hidden memorial rituals or secret burial arrangements, but no reliable evidence supports those claims. The lasting significance of his farewell lies instead in the extraordinary legacy he left behind. Visitors continue to honor his gravesite, remembering not only one of history's greatest singers, but also a visionary businessman who helped change opportunities for future generations of black artists. His final resting place stands as a quiet reminder that genuine greatness requires no legend beyond the truth. Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong's influence on music is so profound that it is difficult to imagine jazz or even modern popular music without him. Born in New Orleans in 1901, Armstrong rose from extreme poverty to become one of the most celebrated entertainers in the world. His groundbreaking trumpet-playing, unforgettable, gravelly voice, and infectious personality introduced jazz to international audiences, while classics such as What a Wonderful World, Hello Dolly, and When the Saints Go Marching In became timeless standards. By the time of his death on July 6, 1971, at the age of 69, Armstrong had spent more than 5 decades transforming the musical landscape. His passing prompted an outpouring of grief from around the globe. A funeral service was held at Corona Congregational Church in Queens, New York, near the neighborhood he proudly called home for nearly 30 years. Fellow musicians, civic leaders, close friends, and devoted fans gathered to celebrate a man whose warmth had touched millions. Rather than becoming an occasion defined by sadness alone, the service reflected Armstrong's joyful spirit through music, heartfelt tributes, and stories celebrating both his remarkable career and his generous personality. After the ceremony, Louis Armstrong was buried at Flushing Cemetery in Queens, where his gravesite continues to attract admirers from around the world. Although popular myths occasionally claim that treasured trumpets or priceless musical artifacts were buried with him, historians have found no credible evidence supporting those stories. The reality is no less meaningful. Armstrong's family chose a respectful, traditional burial that emphasized remembrance over spectacle. Today, visitors often leave flowers, handwritten notes, and small musical tokens at his grave, honoring the man whose artistry forever changed jazz and inspired generations of performers. His final resting place reflects the same humility that remained with him throughout his life, proving that one of music's greatest legends never needed extravagance to secure his place in history. Natalie Cole. Natalie Cole spent her life balancing two extraordinary identities: the daughter of legendary singer Nat King Cole and a remarkable artist who eventually built a legendary career of her own. Born in Los Angeles in 1950, she inherited an exceptional musical gift but also carried the enormous expectations that came with her famous family name. During the 1970s, she established herself with Grammy-winning hits such as This Will Be and Inseparable, proving she was far more than the child of a music icon. Later, her unforgettable 1991 album Unforgettable, with Love, featuring a virtual duet with her late father, sold more than 7 million copies worldwide and earned multiple Grammy Awards, becoming one of the greatest comeback stories in modern music history. Behind the success, Natalie quietly battled serious health challenges for many years. She openly discussed her past struggle with substance abuse before overcoming addiction and rebuilding both her career and personal life. In the 2000s, she was diagnosed with hepatitis C, which eventually led to kidney failure and required regular dialysis before she later received a kidney transplant. Despite these difficulties, Natalie continued performing whenever possible, inspiring audiences through her resilience and determination. Her honesty about illness also encouraged greater public awareness of organ donation and chronic kidney disease. Natalie Cole passed away on December 31, 2015 at the age of 65 from heart failure related to ongoing medical complications. Following a public memorial celebrating her remarkable life, she was buried beside her father, Nat King Cole, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. The decision carried deep symbolic meaning, reuniting father and daughter after decades in which music had connected them across generations. Unlike many internet myths, there were no unusual burial rituals or extravagant ceremonies. Instead, her farewell reflected elegance, family, and enduring love. Today, visitors often pay tribute to both artists at the same memorial site where two of America's most beloved voices now rest together. Their shared resting place remains one of the most touching family memorials in music history. Bessie Smith. Long before the rise of modern recording stars, Bessie Smith earned the title Empress of the Blues, becoming one of the most influential singers of the 1920s. Born in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1894, she overcame extreme poverty to build an extraordinary career, recording more than 150 songs and becoming the highest-paid black entertainer of her era. Her powerful voice and emotional performances inspired generations of musicians from Billie Holiday to Janis Joplin. Yet, despite her enormous fame, the final chapter of her story reflected the harsh racial inequalities that existed in America during her lifetime. Bessie died on September 26, 1937, at the age of 43, after suffering severe injuries in an automobile accident near Clarksdale, Mississippi. Although a long-standing rumor claimed she died because a white hospital refused to treat her, modern historical research has found no convincing evidence supporting that story. Instead, records indicate she received medical care at the nearest available hospital, but her injuries were simply too severe to overcome. Nevertheless, her death marked the end of one of the greatest voices blues music had ever known. She was buried at Mount Lawn Cemetery in Sharon Hill, Pennsylvania, but surprisingly, her grave remained without a proper headstone for more than 3 decades. Financial difficulties and family circumstances prevented a permanent memorial from being installed. In 1970, singer Janis Joplin, together with activist Juanita Green, paid for a granite headstone honoring Bessie Smith's extraordinary legacy. The inscription ensured that one of America's greatest musical pioneers would finally receive the recognition she deserved. Today, her gravesite has become an important destination for blues fans from around the world. Rather than being remembered for an unusual burial ritual, Bessie Smith's story is remarkable because the woman who helped shape American music rested in an unmarked grave for over 30 years before another generation of artists made sure history would never forget her. Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson's voice became the soundtrack of both gospel music and the American Civil Rights Movement. Born in New Orleans in 1911, she transformed sacred music into a global phenomenon while remaining deeply committed to her faith throughout her life. Songs such as Move On Up a Little Higher, How I Got Over and His Eye Is on the Sparrow inspired millions, while her close friendship with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. placed her at the center of some of the most important moments in American history. During the 1963 March on Washington, it was Mahalia who famously encouraged King to tell them about the dream, helping inspire the legendary I Have a Dream speech. After decades of tireless performing, Mahalia's health declined because of diabetes and heart disease. She continued singing whenever possible, believing gospel music was her life's calling despite increasing physical limitations. On January 27, 1972, she passed away in Chicago at the age of 60. Her death prompted an extraordinary national response. Thousands of mourners attended public memorial services in both Chicago and New Orleans, while many of America's most respected religious leaders, politicians, and musicians gathered to honor the woman widely recognized as the Queen of Gospel. Her funeral was broadcast to audiences across the country, reflecting the enormous influence she had earned through faith, music, and public service. Mahalia Jackson was buried at Providence Memorial Park in Metairie, Louisiana, just outside her beloved hometown of New Orleans. Unlike many celebrities whose funerals became surrounded by sensational rumors, Mahalia's farewell remained deeply rooted in the Christian traditions she had embraced throughout her life. Gospel hymns, scripture readings, and heartfelt tributes filled the service, creating a celebration of faith rather than spectacle. Today, her gravesite continues to attract admirers who remember not only her magnificent voice but also her unwavering commitment to hope, equality, and spiritual strength. Her final resting place stands as a fitting tribute to a woman whose music uplifted generations and whose legacy continues to inspire believers and music lovers around the world. Every farewell in this video tells a different story. Some legends were honored with grand public ceremonies, while others chose quiet cremations, private burials, or deeply symbolic resting places that reflected the lives they lived. Yet one thing connects them all. Their music continues to outlive every monument, every grave, and every headline. Their final journeys may have ended, but their voices still echo across generations, reminding us why they remain unforgettable. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Which celebrity's burial story surprised you the most? And whose legacy do you believe will live on forever? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through music history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story from Golden Black Legends.